I sent him into the future.
Alright, I got a new setup for my camera. Hope it doesn't fall over in the middle of this video. We'll find out. So, today's movie is The Talented Mr. Ripley. I've actually had this in my movie queue for a long time on Netflix. I've been wanting to watch it for quite a while, and I recently just kind of watched all of the Bourne movies again with Matt Damon, and just watched Gattaca the other day, which has Jude Law, and so it really got me wanting to watch this even more. So I threw it on the other day. This is a pretty popular movie. Most people will probably recognize it if you mentioned it. It features Matt Damon, Jude Law, and Gwyneth Paltrow. 1999, so it's at the height of all their careers, pretty much. Matt Damon had already done Good Will Hunting, Saving Private Ryan, and Gwyneth Paltrow just coming off of Shakespeare in Love. Jude Law had just done a couple big things. Gattaca was before this. And so yeah, they're all pretty much at the height of their popularity. They're all big name stars now. So this movie is directed by Anthony Minghella, and he did The English Patient, so of course he had a ton of recognition for that. A big Oscar movie. Later he did Cold Mountain, which I really liked, with Jude Law and Nicole Kidman. And this is actually, it's based on a novel by Patricia Highsmith, and it's actually been around for quite a while. I'll get to that in the movie connections later. And this was nominated for 5 Oscars again, so it was a big movie at the time. Kind of has faded away, out of people's consciousness a little bit, I think. You don't hear a lot of people bring it up. But Jude Law was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, Best Writing, Best Art Direction, Costume Design, and Music. So I was nominated for 5, didn't win any of those that year. But, anyways, I'll just kind of go into the plot a little bit. So, Matt Damon plays Tom Ripley, and the movie starts out, we see him right away. He's playing piano at a kind of an outdoor concert. He's wearing a Harvard jacket, so this man comes up to him, Herbert Greenleaf comes up to him. He thinks he went to Harvard, and just starts talking to him. Matt Damon, Tom, he just kind of plays along. He says, yeah, I was at Harvard, blah, 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 blah. Herbert Greenleaf, he's played by James Rebhorn. You'd recognize him. He's a really good character actor. Starts talking, gets really chummy with him right away, and says, well, okay, you went to Harvard. You're probably right around my son's age, Dickie Greenleaf. I want you to go over to Italy and bring him back. He's been over there, spent a lot of time, just kind of doing nothing. I'll give you a bunch of money. Go over there and bring him back for me. Just convince him to come back. And this is in the 50s, so it's New York in the 50s, and it turns out that the Greenleafs are a huge shipping company, owns a big shipping company. So Matt Damon says, Tom Ripley says, yeah, of course, I'll do that. He's going to get paid like $5,000, which is a lot of money back then. Go over to Italy, try to bring him back. I would kind of realize this all happens right away at the beginning, so he's a bit of a con man, Tom is. And so his journey starts. He's going to take a ship over to Italy, and the first person he meets actually is played by Cate Blanchett. Let's see what her name is. Cast list is kind of weird here. What is her name? She is from another prominent family as well. And they meet on the ship. Her name's Meredith Logue. Her parents own textiles. And right away, for some reason, Tom says that he's Dickie. He tells her that just off the bat. So that's going to come into play a lot later in a big way. But anyways, Tom gets over to Italy. He finds Dickie. Dickie's played by Jude Law. And he's living there with his girlfriend, fiance, Marge Sherwood, who is played by Gwyneth Paltrow. So those two have been living there for a long time. Tom acts like he knows Dickie, that they went to school together. And eventually he gets in with the group. He gets buddy-buddy with them. Dickie starts to like him. Marge likes him. He's just fun to be with. And he just starts hanging out, and he eventually, he tells Dickie, okay, we don't. He tells him why he's there, about his dad and everything. Then they just kind of decide to string him along, and they're just going to hang out all together and have no intention of actually going back to New York. So that's going on for a while. Everything's good, and you start to see Tom kind of starts to fall in love with Dickie. He's very charismatic, and everybody likes Dickie. And there's also not very subtle homosexual tendencies coming from Tom. A little closeted, it's hinted at pretty well. So that's going on. And then there start to be these big relationship problems with Dickie being unfaithful to Marge. And then we meet, after a while, Freddie Miles, who's played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. And he's one of Dickie's really good friends, and he's kind of crazy. Right away, Freddie's pretty suspicious of Tom. Doesn't really know why he's there, hanging out, living off of Mr. Greenleaf's money, and just, he doesn't like him right away. And Tom's kind of worried, he's going to see through him. But he's not hanging around too long. And then there's a big turn in the movie, and it's not that big of a secret, especially since this movie's so old. But there's a big fight between Tom and Dickie. And what happens is that Tom ends up taking his identity and goes to a different part of Italy and starts to assume Dickie's identity. And it's a lot easier in the 50s to do this, of course. And so that's the plot, and it gets a lot more serious than that. It's a decently long movie. And let me see real quick how long it is. Yeah, it's 140 minutes. So it's about 2 hours and 20 minutes. And it gets really serious, and there's a lot more plot issues that come in. I mentioned Cate Blanchett earlier as Meredith because she comes back in a big way, and she already knew Tom as Dickie because that's how he introduced himself. So she's in Italy, and we have all these different characters interacting, and some of them know that he's Tom, and other people just think he's Dickie. So it gets pretty complex and complicated, and an issue for Tom is trying to keep these different groups separated. And it's really interesting. It's really good. I thought it was a great movie, actually. The acting, of course, is phenomenal. Like I mentioned, these are all great actors. Matt Damon, Gwyneth Paltrow, Jude Law, Cate Blanchett, Philip Seymour Hoffman, they've all been nominated, and a couple of them won Oscars. So that obviously shows you the level of acting in the movie. It's great, and I can see kind of why Jude Law was nominated for a supporting actor. He's really good in it. The story is really good, and for how long it is, over 2 hours, it doesn't feel that long. It goes along very nicely. It's nicely paced. There's almost multiple parts to the story and to the movie. A lot at the beginning with Marge and Dickie, and then what happens afterwards, mostly with just Tom trying to live out this lie and see how far he can take it. And jazz is a really big part of the story and the movie. Like in the Oscar nominations, was not nominated for some of its music, and that's a big thing, that Dickie loves jazz, and so then it's one of the ways Tom gets into the circle with him. He says that he likes jazz too, and I thought that came back in a really good way because Tom's character and the story, it becomes really improvisational. I can't say that, and that's exactly how jazz is. It's very off the cuff. It's not planned or written. It's very improv the whole time. And that's kind of how the story goes. You kind of see that working in Tom's brain and what he's doing. And it's really thrilling to watch him do what he's doing. You're kind of on the edge of your seat, like, oh crap, what's going to happen? Is he going to be able to pull this off? He's going to get caught real easily. Or right now, he's going to get caught. So it is great. It's a great thriller. It's pretty suspenseful in that sense. Italy is beautifully shot in this movie. That's I didn't look up who the cinematographer was, but that's kind of what Anthony Minghella is known for as well. English Patient was a pretty beautiful movie. Scoping landscapes, and you see that in Cold Mountain as well. So Italy looks great in the movie. It's shot wonderfully. It gets really dark. It's kind of fun. It has two different paces at the beginning. It's pretty lighthearted, where they're all meeting and hanging out, and then slowly you start to reveal different character traits with Dickie and Tom and everybody, and then it gets pretty dark towards the end. The tone and the subject matter. I was kind of surprised by it, but it works really well. So yeah, I think that's kind of all I want to talk about with the plot. Another actor that I'm looking at right here that's in it is Philip Baker Hall. You'd recognize if you saw him. He's a detective in the movie. So yeah, I think that's all I want to talk about as far as the plot goes. It's so I want to get into the movie connections before I get into the other Tom Ripley movies. I got a vibe of this is kind of more of like a much sinister version of Catch Me If You Can. Has that similar setting, 50s setting, 50s, 60s. Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. But a much darker version, a lot more sinister dealings, what happens. So that's kind of a good way to think of it in my mind. And the fact that Gwyneth Paltrow's in it and some of the other plot points really made me think of A Perfect Murder, which Gwyneth Paltrow's in with Michael Douglas. So I thought those are the two comparisons that I made that I think are pretty accurate. So Catch Me If You Can and A Perfect Murder are a good way to think of it. And then, so like I mentioned, this is based on a novel by Patricia Highsmith. And the two movies that I kind of knew right off the bat were part of the series are Ripley Underground, which is in 2002, and Ripley's Game. I think I have those right. Ripley's Game, 2005. Wait, okay, Ripley Underground is 2005, and Ripley's Game is 2002. Okay. Ripley's Game is with John Malkovich, and Ripley Underground is Barry Pepper. Sorry, they're kind of confusing. Too many Ripley movies. So those are the two I knew about, just because, they're from the 2000s, they're more recent. But then I was looking at it, and there's actually been two other movies from the same series of books. So there was one from 1960 called Purple Noon with Elaine Delon, and that's actually just a retelling of this movie, Talented Mr. Ripley. They're based on the same book. And then Dennis Hopper played Tom Ripley in the 1977 movie The American Friend, and that is the same story as Ripley's Game with John Malkovich. So that's a lot of movies. There's 5 movies. 2 of them are the same story, and then 2 other ones are the same story. So actually I had looked, and I had those on some of my list that I wanted to watch, probably all of them eventually. We'll see how long it takes me to do it. But yeah, there's a lot of material. There's a lot of other movies you can watch if you like this, which I did. So I'll definitely check out these other ones, and hopefully you'll see a review of those as well. So I think that is gonna do it. Yeah. So actually, I don't have a tagline or sign off for this one. It's not a very quote heavy movie. But yeah, it's a great movie. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. So really high up there. I would definitely check it out. It's got some great performances by great actors, and it's one of Anthony Minghella's few movies. So I'd definitely check it out. And it's like I said, it's on Netflix right now. So, all right, till next time. See ya.